welcome to the Rogers TV COVID-19 show. I'm Carol Merton, and before I welcome our guest to the program, I want to share a few thoughts with you. For those of you who watch the show, you know that we like to provide you with an update about COVID-19 status here in Grey Bruce. And currently, the Grey Bruce Health Unit is declaring a critical threshold of COVID-19 cases in Grey Bruce. As a result of the increasing case numbers, the Public Health Unit contact tracing and case management capacity is being stretched to its limit. If we, as a community, do not implement drastic measures at this juncture, the pandemic will spiral out of control. The Grey Bruce Health Unit is asking the public to help. Everyone across Grey Bruce needs to consider themselves a carrier for the next 48 hours until they are able to reach all the cases and their contacts. It is a priority that everyone stay at home except for essential travel. If contacted by public health, be prudent in following the directions that you are given. This will be in addition to the provincial stay-at-home order. A class action order from the Medical Officer of Health will be issued to further reinforce the need for cases and close contacts to follow the public health direction. Individuals who have symptoms are asked to attend the assessment clinics. The Grey Bruce Health Unit asks the public to continue to practice the 3 W's: watch your distance, wear a mask, wash your hands, and please stay at home except for essential travel. The sacrifices we make each and every day will help to prevent the spread of COVID-19, and all of us together can make a difference. We can save lives. Thank you to the community for helping the Grey Bruce Public Health Unit and each other to stay safe. And I now want to introduce and welcome, as well as thank, our first guest today. Deepha Romuwalt is a physiotherapist who is here. Deepha and her husband have a clinic, Proactive Physio Plus, here in Owen Sound. And Deepha and I chatted some time ago, it seems like so long ago, when COVID began. And she's here today to tell us how things are going, give us an update on therapy services that are happening and how she and her business have pivoted to adapt to COVID-19. Welcome, Deepha. It is so nice to see you, although I wish it wasn't in these circumstances.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for having me in the show. It's as usual, it's always nice to be with you in the show, and I'm very happy to share the updates that we have gone through. I remember, I think it was last March, right when the lockdown started, I think we met and we talked about breathing pattern, and a year has rolled now. And and a lot of changes.
So. Absolutely. For those who aren't familiar with what you offer, but also your services in the clinic, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind explaining where you're located and some of the services and the healthcare professionals that you work with, so that the community sort of gets an idea of what's offered there.
Sure. So ours is a multidisciplinary clinic. We have 2 locations. We serve one in Owen Sound and the other one is in Sauble Beach. So being multidisciplinary, meaning, so we are 4 physiotherapists right here for now full time. And we also have massage therapy, and we have an manual osteopath practitioner who's here full time as well. And we have occupational therapists, 2 occupational therapists, one who's handling more in clinic and the other one who's doing more in-home care as well. And the in-clinic therapist is kind of handling the pediatrics because she has a specific interest in that. So she's handling pediatrics and concussion. And we also have an pedorthotist who is here every other week for orthotic needs. And I think I covered everyone.
That's really impressive.
Oh, I think I forgot someone. Sorry. We have Jeremy Toman. He's a naturopath who is with us as well. Jeremy, don't get mad at me, but I did mention that.
For sure. So I'm wondering, your clinic offers a variety of services to a variety of ages, but you do have specific services because you have individuals who are trained, perhaps even additionally to their initial physio training. So
Yes.
maybe you can just explain about that.
Sure, definitely. Myself and another therapist, she's a physio resident, her name is Sama. We both are pelvic health physiotherapists. We treat male and female, and I also have another therapist who treat male pelvic health as well. And other than that, we have people who are trained with concussion and sports injuries. These are some specific, and I also deal with neurological clientele. So these are the specialties that we go with.
Yeah. So anyone from Grey Bruce can access your services. Do they need a doctor's referral?
Depends. Sometimes certain insurances they need, but overall, as it is physiotherapy, they have said that it is direct patient care, so they can reach out. Some of the extended healthcare benefits people, they do need a referral, but otherwise, feel free to call the office and we'll be able to do it. And right now, we also take bundle care patients. If somebody has hip and knee replacements through bundle care, we are also a designated clinics to offer them, but we are not an all-hip clinic though.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are you doing around COVID-19? I mean, we know that there's been restrictions. So, how are you taking care of patients?
Yeah, thank you. Different ways, and it has been evolving ever since we started, right? When the initial lockdown that was there in March, we only did emergency people, like people who were affected and people who were in long-term care, and if to have their services. So if they were affected with a sprain or a strain, we just saw them. So it was strictly just for frontline people and for emergency people only at that time. Then, of course, once we came out of the full lockdown, I think it was June, last year of June. At that time, we were setting up protocols, the shield in the front desk and the distancing, what all we had to follow as per the provincial and the local governments. We followed all that. And then at that time, I think we even spaced out for the clinic purposes. We gave a gap of 15 minutes between clients. And then as it evolved, we started seeing people closer, but then I had to enhance the clinic protocol, meaning we zoned. We are 4 therapists. As I said, any given time, there's 6 therapists in the clinic. So each of us, we have a zone. And we kind of stay in that zone. Like, one client comes in and we stay in that zone. And if we have to overlap, we check the gym area, which is kind of an open area. We check, and our gym, we have 2 gyms here. So it's kind of open that way. So we try to minimize the people. And we also staggered our start times and our end times.
Okay.
That way, because if we kind of go 2 of the therapists, they start quarter after, and 2 therapists start right at the hour. So we also did that change. And between the 2 locations that we are seeing, we tried our level best not to keep all 4 therapists at the same time. So we might overlap for an hour or 2, but that's the maximum. So we did that. And then, of course, as like everyone, the virtual world opened up. We started offering virtual care as well. Initially, I was skeptical. To tell you the truth, initially, I was skeptical. But then the minute I started doing that, actually, I started liking it because I was able to see the clients in front of me. Sometimes the clients that I've seen, they said, oh, I've done this stretch in my bedside table. And, my thought is bedside table is the one that I have seen, right? So it's like, oh, I'm thinking it's at a certain height. And then when they showed me the bedside table, it was like, oh, that's not the height that I want. So then we kind of restructured, okay, I need you to keep 2 fat books over there and then do the stretches because I want that proper height there. So that was really nice. And then given our region with the geographical challenges, it actually helped. The virtual care really helped in winter as well, because sometimes people couldn't drive. There is a snowstorm. They just call and say, hey, can I have a virtual today? So that kind of worked out. They are safe from their house. And the other thing is they say if they had to take care of a loud one, but they also have to take care of their health, right? So if somebody is sick, they were still able to go into another room and still do the physiotherapy for them, and that was a very helpful. And the timing, that was really flexible. There were times that I start a little early, before the kids wake up, and there are times I've done it a little late, so there was flexibility too. So I kind of see few positive things in virtual care, and
Yeah.
still no way, the quality of therapy has gone down. Yes, there was no hands-on, and it was a big learning curve for me as well, because everything as a neurotherapist, I'm all hands-on. I also learn how to do not to do stuff without the hands-on, and give the clients, empower them that they can do it too the proper way. So that was very nice. So these are some things that we did.
So virtual care, just for those, it's really like you and I are doing a conversation virtually rather, and so it's like another word would be telerehab, but it's just where if they've got the technology, you can see them and see them do the function, which is an advantage. Just a question, looking optimistically after COVID in recovery, do you think you'll continue to do virtual as well as in clinic?
Definitely, Carol, because I think it has opened up, as much as we're all tired of COVID did open up a few things. And one of them is the virtual or the tele-rehab, that I would say, because, with virtual, as I said, us given in this geographical regions, we can still be in touch. And I should tell you how many seniors were proud of themselves that they got onto the technology now, They struggled a little bit, but the minute we say, okay, try this, try that, they said, oh, wow, I'm becoming techie, So I really think virtual rehab or tele-rehab, will be with us for a little bit longer, and not just for clients, even as therapists. It has opened up the world. We say the world is small, but I think this Zoom the virtually, not just for treating clients, even for conferences, and it'll be really very, very helpful. Yeah.
So you were more than a therapist, you were tech support for some people, right?
Exactly.
You got to hit the unmute button.
Yes.
I get that. I absolutely understand that. I think we've all not done that sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are your patients saying? Because you're right, it's moving from the traditional physical presence to being, you can see someone, but not necessarily physically there. What are you hearing back from patients and their families about it?
About rehab, you mean virtual rehab?
About the virtual.
Virtual,
compared to in-person.
Yes. So pretty much initially, Carol, without COVID, I don't know if we would have been pushed into it. With COVID, it was a must, right? So, people were understanding because, as you know, I treat clients who are neurologically impaired, which means they're mostly in the wheelchair. So that means they are immunocompromised. So certain things, when we were able to deal with, people were understanding. I would do like 2 virtual sessions, and then I would do 1 in person. Then that way they had the mix, and then them doing virtually helped my other neurologically impaired clients come in even more safely, because people who are immunocompromised or who's in the wheelchair, they said, I feel safe coming here because, we reduce traffic because of so people were happy with that. And with this, as you said, we became tech savvy. So I even started preparing presentations. Creating presentations would take hours for me. Now I can do it in 15 minutes. And then I can share the screen. I can change my background. So it's really lovely, and I can still send people their exercises or videos. I can show it to them, and they were able to. We came up with creative ideas. They were able to record what the thing that I would say, and they would be able to practice that. And I also had the opportunity to meet their. Sometimes there's a little kid who kind of comes around and say, "Wave hi." Doesn't happen here, or I get to know their pets that they love. It was a nice, different experience, but something good towards the good. Yeah.
It brings in the home care aspect of being physically in a person's home, in addition to the actual treatment program, which certainly adds some features for sure.
Definitely.
So, yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Are you having concerns about what will happen with the patients as this isolation continues? Are you noticing either changes in their mental approach or their stress or their physical levels? Usually we talk about people meeting milestones in recovery based on, frequency of treatment. Are you seeing changes that could, and if so, what are they?
Definitely, Carol. The COVID has definitely taken a toll on all of us. Even the best of my best, who would be very motivated to do stuff, I started seeing them. It's like getting tired, or they're not doing, or so. Yes, definitely, it has been isolated. And one thing is, they're also say some of them had to be isolated, like they didn't have they were in close contact. So some of them, they were confined, and then they came back and talked to me about their experience. And I think it is a lack of immobility because they're confined to one room, right? So yeah, and that just what do you do? Like 24 hours, and then it is 2 weeks. And if it is a new variant, I think it's even more than 2 weeks. So it is the immobility. They can be kind of active, but not that active if they have COVID. And again, depends how much they're affected too, right? And the lack of interaction, that because humans need social interaction. That's what we are designed as. There is a saying, it says, no man is an island. That is so true. Now we really know how important social interactions are. So those two are, and then that's when once I heard those stories for others, touch wood, nobody should get to be isolated and stuff. But then I started telling my people, hey, have a plan A, plan B. In case you have to choose to isolate, that you have to be in that room, try to choose a room that has a window with it, that you can kind of, see outside a little bit, that it's a little bit brighter. Try to plan the things, just like for birth prep, we usually tell people, pack these things and keep. So like that, again, I don't want to jinx for anyone, but if it has to happen, I'll have this with me to read or to play, like, card game or something that they have to do it. And sometimes I even told them to write some positive affirmation journal just to be there, because it's going to be tough. They might, only when you're sick, you really want someone to take care of you. And this is one condition that nobody can come near you. So, and then, so I always tell them, like, to have some soft, something for them to touch and give them that sensory stimuli, to prepare some, just listen to some TED Talks that can be more inspiring. So these are some concerns. It's just that immobility and the lack of interactions. But if they have a plan A, plan B, that'll be really helpful. So that is something I'm concerned. And now, as it's progressing, I think as physios, they're also trying to train us to prepare to treat COVID clients.
Yes.
I'm reading more things as they are preparing, because now they're saying that people are going to come with PICS. PICS is post-ICU syndrome. That's PICS in short, and what all it can be affected. And if physios are going to treat, is there any, if they had undergone ventilator use and the tracheostomy, which is just they put the tube in the throat for them to breathe. If they recover from it, how do we treat? So there are a few things that we are getting ready to treat.
So first of all, our idea of an isolation plan, and almost like an isolation kit, like a birthing kit, just have things ready, is excellent, because it gets people thinking rather than at the last minute, okay, you're in isolation, and then there's nothing prepared.
Yes.
So I think, that's good advice for people to even be thinking about, because it could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And you make a really valid point. It's one of those times when you're sick that people can't help you. At a time when you probably need and want it most, they can't. So I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit more about post-COVID syndromes. The sort of term long haulers. Because I think people think, okay, people get COVID, they either live or die, end of story. But that's not the case, we're discovering. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you don't mind speaking a bit more about what you're learning about that and what people, because I think if people realize that this is a significant disease process, we need to be careful up front to do everything we can not to get it and not to spread it, but also be aware of what it means for people. Mm-hmm. So if you're okay to talk about that for a bit.
Definitely. I'll be happy to. Just like there is so much uncertainty with COVID, still till today, scientists and everyone, we're discovering so many things that can be surprising to us, because everyone is going to be affected in a different way. It's just like a thumbprint or a snowflake. It's going to be different for everyone. But there is going to be certain things that is going to be there. For concussion, when I see people with concussion, there is an emotional piece, there is a psychological piece, there is a physical piece, and there is a cognitive piece. Just like that in the post-COVID syndrome, it kind of goes the same PCS, but it's going to be, one is going to be concussion syndrome, one is going to be COVID syndrome. So with COVID, definitely the breathing, the capacity, the tiredness, the fatigue that might feel, and some people might be affected a little bit neurologically. I'm kind of keeping tabs on certain things, like how they are coming up. Some people are not having that full recovery of the taste or the smell that they have, and some people, no matter what, they are fatiguing. So it is really, really important, just like how I said, to be prepared for the COVID kit in case if somebody's affected too. The first thing you have to think of is the breathing pattern. Somehow, Carol, in our world, just with the stress, we all have become such shallow breathers. And even in my previous talk, I had emphasized how much the breathing pattern has to be. And we are also talking about the posture that you have to keep, because you can kind of sit sunken like this and breathe, but just sitting, being a little bit more upright, for postural suggestions. How we can improve their endurance back. Some people who came back that I saw, at least post-COVID, they're struggling with fatigue. Like they feel no matter what, they are not having enough energy to come back.
Yeah.
And the cognitive as well.
Before we get to the cognitive, when you mentioned about the breathing, sometimes we take that for granted, but we do know that respiratory function is significantly impacted with some COVID-19 survivors.
Yes.
For sure. But also for those who are struggling with the stresses and the anticipation and the worries, breathing is an excellent tool for coping. Correct.
Yes, very much. Sometimes because the diaphragm, basically, that is right over here, also has a link to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic ganglion at the back. So if you kind of exert the diaphragm up and down properly with proper abdominal breathing, that will actually modulate the stress and the anti-stress system as well. That's why when you hear when you're anxious, we say take a deep breath. Like that's what it does, because it modulates to bring in the anti-stress system into you. So breathing is huge, people. So
certainly for anyone, it would be a good thing to begin.
Yes.
Just regular, even if it's just a few relaxed breaths, to try and help in any way we can to get through this.
Yes.
COVID-19 cognitive, that means the brain function, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can speak a bit about what you're seeing or what you're reading about.
Yeah. So far, how much air is important for your lungs. Air is also important for your brain as well, because you need to be constantly oxygenated. So once you don't have that oxygen exchange in there, then your cognitive functions, like your thinking, your decision making, everything also kind of gets fogged up. And then you always feel that you're tired. And at the end of the day, you're not able to carry out what you would normally be able to do. It's like, okay, I just need to go to room. And then that creates mood irritation, hyper-irritability, that also happens. And then if that is added up with poor lack of sleep, then they are irritated, then comes depression, then comes anxiety, and then it's a whole chain. So we are really, really, if I want to give two things for everyone for a take home, one is the breathing pattern and the other is the posture, how you do. Like, yes, I'm talking about breathing, but I don't want you to be slouched like this to breathe. Like, I just want the proper breathing, and then doing some stretches that'll kind of open up things. Right now, even as people are working from home, I'm very specific in telling them, okay, you're sitting down a lot more than this, and you're not even traveling back and forth. Previously they would have a workplace to go and come back, and right now they don't even do that travel, getting up and going. They get up from their chair and then they go to the couch, right? So we are insisting people to say, do your stretches right after work. If you're sitting and working, you're going to think of the breathing. You're going to think of your posture while you're doing. I'm not going to say be robotic like this 24/7, but come often. Put some sticky notes around your computer or somewhere that you can see. And be hydrated as well. Keep drinking water. And right away, as you finish your work, you get down to the floor, do some open stretches, and then get to whatever you have to do.
And I think those are strategies that don't require a lot of equipment, aren't expensive to do, and we have the power within ourselves to do it, to make a difference. And for every day. We have about a minute left in the program. It always goes so fast when I speak to you, Deepha. Is there anything you'd like to say in the last few seconds?
Well, as much as we're all tired of COVID, it has given us some positive effects as well, just reflecting on those, We have all become creative, not just being creative. So many people were ready to share their ideas. So, they are sharing their ideas as well. And then it gave us all a pause moment to reflect on who we are, what we are. People would have done it differently at different stages of their life, but then they did it. And again, with the virtual world, it has become the world has become even smaller and opened more opportunities. Like last weekend, I attended a conference that's always in the US. I wanted to go, I could never go. But then this year, I was just right at home. I took care of the kids. I was still able to work, and I attended my favorite conference. So it kind of, so things
there you go. A silver lining. Who knew? I want to thank you for being on the program. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and I hope you will come back and join us to talk again, and hopefully about something other than COVID-19, because I'm optimistic.
Yes.
You take care of yourself, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Carol.
Thank you to our viewing audience for joining us today. Please join us again to learn more about programs and services available to you and to your family. Take care, stay safe, care for each other. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
The Canadian film and TV industry recognizes it's time to build a better workforce, which includes more opportunities for Black, Indigenous, and persons of color. HireBIPOC.com is here to help make this happen. Whether you're already in the business